Well, hello there. I am still alive, nevertheless. So, I felt compelled to make another video. Don't know why, but well, I do know why. This whole Canadian fiasco has really rather alarmed me, and so I've decided to make a video about it, but I don't really know where to begin. All the driftwood in there, mashed up in there. I guess I would say, is it right to single out a group of people who hold different views from you? I guess that's what we do in warfare. We single out groups of people who hold different views from us, and we try to destroy them, and we consider that to be just. But now, of course, we're talking within we do that with criminals. You know, they have different views. Their views are that, you know, crime pays or whatever, and we single them out. So is it wrong to single out people who don't take vaccines and crush them, take the full weight of government? Are they criminals? Should they be? I guess that's the view, because what they are doing is harmful to their fellow citizens. By not taking the vaccine, they are endangering their fellow citizens, and therefore they must be punished. But that kind of, but then there's that makes sense, of course, only if the vaccine prevents them from spreading the disease to other people, right? Because if the vaccine didn't prevent them from spreading the disease, then you know, then you couldn't really make that same call, right? And what if that vaccine, like, is it right to so we have a vaccine that cures people, or not cures people. We have a vaccine that prevents you from infecting your fellow man. But this vaccine, what if it might be harmful to you? So, I mean, can you force a person to give up one of their kidneys? I mean, they don't need those kidneys. That kidney, it could be used by someone else. Can you force them, or even easier, can you force someone to give blood? I mean, you know, don't you want your fellow man to live? Like, blood is very important. It's required for operations and stuff. You know, without that blood, these people are going to die, and you don't need it. You can give a pint of blood or whatever every month, probably, and be fine. Should we not mandate that? And if you refuse, should we not ruin you? Are you not a criminal? Is that what we have here, is a vaccine that prevents you from infecting your fellow neighbor? Or do we have one? It seems to me like we have one that reduces the chances of you infecting someone, but doesn't prevent you from getting it, nor does it prevent you from transmitting it. But it perhaps reduces the chances of you spreading it. I mean, if it was and it's not perfectly safe. It's extremely safe, but not perfectly safe, right? I mean, there are, there are some people who are having health effects from it. It's probably, not as safe as giving blood, but safer than giving a kidney. I mean, if you had a vaccine that was perfectly safe, if you concocted some sort of bizarre hypothetical where you have a vaccine that is perfectly safe, and then maybe it would be more justified to come down like a load of bricks on your citizens who do not take it. Especially if it was also perfectly effective. What if the illness? What if you have an illness that is really not all that harmful? Like, some people, maybe some people will die from it, but very few. Like, it's like, what if you had a vaccine for the common cold, basically? Like, we have this treatment, we've come up with this new vaccine. If everybody takes this thing, every 2 months or something like that, no one will ever get a cold. I mean, there are some people that die of colds, the elderly especially. Also young children. I mean, no one wants to be no one wants to be the one that would spread illness to a child, right? So what if you had a vaccine that did that? Would that be justifiable? I don't know. Should people be allowed to ride motorcycles? Should people be forced to wear helmets when they ride motorcycles? I mean, sure, if you don't ride with a helmet, you're the one who is in the most risk. But what about the people that have to clean up the psychological damage that you will be causing to the person that has to sweep your crumpled body and your brain up from the street? And what about their rights? Does a person have any right to their own autonomy? Because theoretically, anything you do can have an effect on other people. If you choose to eat beef, for instance, at the restaurant tonight, you are causing deforestation in Brazil or something, which affects other people. Should you be allowed to make that decision? Maybe you should be served what the government thinks you should eat, what is best to eat. Wham! That was a meaty bug. These are all big questions. Big questions. I don't know, should I be allowed an opinion on this? I mean, this is why we elect governments, right? Every few years or 4 years or so. We vote, and then these politicians, they make all of the decisions for us. And if we don't like the decisions, then then we wait until 4 years is up, and we cast our ballot, and we hope that the next government will make different decisions. And if they don't, then I guess we wait for another 4 years and we vote again and hope that that government will make a different decision. Seems like a bit of a rough tool. Like, what if you agree with everything the government does, but there's this one thing? So you've got your two parties to choose from. One party has got like 100 things wrong with them that you don't like, and the other party has only one thing wrong with you that you don't like. Does that mean that one thing you can never change it? Even if you get together with you find a bunch of your fellow citizens online, and they all don't like this thing, and you all want to change it, but there's no party in the country that you could possibly vote for that would want to change it, or where it's in their platform. What then? What is your mechanism? What is your mechanism for representation then? Does that mean it just will never get addressed? What if, every person in the country wants it, except for the people, except for the representatives? Is there no mechanism for them to get that thing that they want? What's the point of having a charter of rights and freedoms, you know, if nobody knows what's in it and nobody cares? I read I don't know if I read the whole thing, but I flipped through I think I had a relative or something that went to Russia, you know, during the USSR, I guess, during the time of the Soviet Union. And of course, in communist countries, you know, when you go as a tourist, the only two things there are there to buy are, well, actually, there's probably three things. You can buy like Russian army buttons. You can buy you know, the Russian army belt. You can buy a flag, and you can buy the glorious Soviet Constitution. And so I received a copy of the Soviet Constitution in English. It's interesting that they publish it in English, but obviously for export. And so I think I flipped through a few pages of it. It is the most glorious sounding constitution in the world. The rights that are granted to the citizenry, I mean, you would never know that that a country with people with so many rights would be running a gulag system. It's unimaginable. I guess what was going on there was that nobody was actually paying attention to the Constitution. It was a fine document, but utterly worthless in practicality. I wonder if the Canadian Charter is a similar kind of document. I think Canadian politicians are often eager to tout how wonderful Canada is, how awesome our system of government is, but in reality, do we end up stepping on people's rights when they come up against the rights of the state? The state has rights, I guess it does. But I guess we've decided that's justified. Because you're a criminal. You're a criminal. You lack empathy. If you don't live for your fellow citizen, what kind of a person are you really? What kind of a person? Kind of interesting how it only goes one way, though. What kind of a person wouldn't get vaccinated, as opposed to what kind of a person wouldn't care if their neighbor was being fired from their job, or what kind of person wouldn't care if their neighbor's assets were being seized extrajudicially. Is that a word? It's a very large hedge. Without judicial oversight, without court order. their assets are seized. Well, I guess they were proceeds of crime, weren't they? I mean, if you're the sort of person that's not willing to get vaccinated, what sort of person is that? A criminal, basically. And if you're a criminal, the money you have is obviously proceeds of crime and must be forfeit to the state. That makes perfect sense. I mean, you were at an illegal protest. What makes a protest illegal? What is the difference between a legal protest and an illegal protest? I mean, the name kind of suggests that there is someone in the legal system, like a judge or something, making a call. This protest is illegal, and this one is legal. Although I've heard that in some, like puppet states or poorly run, undemocratic states, an autocratic ruler will even just declare that a protest is illegal without even bothering to talk to anybody in the judiciary. How can I not say that word? I mean, it's pretty tedious to do the whole judge and court thing, when you're an autocratic ruler. You just want to say, look, this thing is illegal. Why is it illegal? Because I'm making it illegal. And it's like, well, don't you have to create a law to make it illegal? No. I just want, if I say it's illegal, it's illegal. You don't have to make a law to make it illegal. That is also tedious. It has to be freaking drafted up by some dude. And then it has to be consistent with all the other freaking laws I made yesterday. That is pretty tedious, I imagine. Oh man, this traffic is something, huh? Getting a little run on the bike. Got a new battery this year. The other one finally tapped out. It was on its last legs the whole last year, I think. I managed to keep it working, but it just got to the point where it would not hold enough charge to start the thing in the winter. It's just, it takes a little more oomph. Also, with this aftermarket gas tank, one of the bad things about it is the choke pull on the thing kind of knocks up against the bottom of the tank, and so you can't really pull the choke all the way out. So that makes it a little tougher to start in the winter as well. So between those two things, I just couldn't make it work anymore. So I gave up. Got a new battery. Then I go up here. What's this guy doing? Yeah. Extremely depressed about my extremely depressed. I don't know why I go extremely expressed. I haven't purchased any straight edge razors. But I'm fairly saddened, I suppose, about the recent events in my country. I don't really know what we're supposed to do about it. It feels like I'm, living in a tin pot dictatorship or something. Well, I don't know. It certainly doesn't seem that way to my fellow Canadians, I don't think. Not a lot of them. Maybe some of them. I don't know how does Canada supposed to argue against, stand up on the world stage and argue against autocratic rulers, clamping down on democratic protest in their countries after this? Like, how do you go to, any of the usual suspects? Like, how do you give China a hard time for Tiananmen Square? Although this is obviously not a Tiananmen Square, but you know what I mean, like the maybe not even Tiananmen, just Hong Kong recently, right? The summary kind of like seizures that are happening in China as we speak, people's money. Even there, I think they get a freaking court order though. So I don't know. I just don't know how it seems to me like you lose any sort of credibility if you're gonna argue against these sorts of autocratic maneuvers in other countries. I don't know how you can like do that with a straight face now. What was all that, that bullshit, Trudeau went on about, the two Michaels, when they came back, I cried, or whatever. I don't know what he was when one of them told me, one of the Michaels told me that he was glad that I didn't give in to, to the China's pressure. That I'm glad that we were a country of laws and we obey the law. Unless of course it's one of my political enemies, then I will whip out this other law that's called the big fucking stick law.
You know what the chain of command is? It's a chain I go get and beat you with till you understand who's in rotten command here.
And I will seize your shit, and I will make it impossible for you to ever hold a job again, and I will crush you utterly if you dare challenge me. But other than that, I believe in laws. We're a country of laws. Except when it's too tedious to involve judges. Then not so much. And we're the country that invokes the War Measures Act over a protest. A protest that didn't, as far as I could tell, damage a single dollar of infrastructure. Although the border ones were, but I'm talking about the Ottawa one, obviously. The border ones obviously caused You know, I guess there was some economic damage for the businesses that decided to close, but yeah, it's not without consequence, that's for sure. A lot of people are being affected here by government decisions. You've got the people that are having turfed out of their jobs. They've been turfed out of their jobs. They've been maligned. They've been othered and maligned by our politicians. Lost their job, beaten, and now they're losing their, the government is going to seize their assets, and the government's going to take away their ability to make a living in the future. And then there's the people in Ottawa who, had to live through some sort of U.S. Prison camps, like Al Qaeda prison camp kind of, all night horns and shit for several days there until they got the court order. People with, businesses, people that were perhaps ridiculed on the streets for wearing masks. Those guys. You've got the police who have been asked to shove around their fellow citizens, which maybe they didn't sign up for. Maybe they don't feel so good about all that. Maybe they loved it, but they didn't like to hear the abuse. I don't know how much abuse was hurled at them, but probably a lot of yelling. I don't know, a lot of people have been affected by this thing. A lot of people. What was the cause of it? The government didn't think. The government thought it was too much of a health risk to allow truckers to continue to be able to go across the border without proof of vaccination. That was ostensibly the cause for this. And for that, all these harms to these people, the loss of the standing of Canada in the world community, many people have lost their jobs. Not just the protesters who had lost their jobs initially, but government officials. There's that police chief in Ottawa lost his job. The woman who is the chair of the police supervisory committee in Ottawa lost her job. Or maybe was just shuttled out of that committee. Maybe she still has her job. I don't know. Leader of the Conservatives, no longer the leader of the Conservatives. goes on and on. It's a bit of a nuclear bomb drop. Apparently that's the thing though. If only the truckers would be vaccinated, then the whole COVID thing would be over. That's clearly the one issue remaining in order to get us out of the pandemic.